Hi, I'm Chayale.
Hi, I'm Hinty. Welcome to Your Relationshift. Join in our conversation where we explore
The nuance and beauty of Torah's perspective on relationships.
Hey, Chayla.
Hey, so we're jumping on to give you a summer boost. For some, I think summer maybe is just a regular continuation of their routine, but for a lot of us, there's some changes in the summer. Family dynamics shifting with kids in camp. Maybe you're in the city, or you're in the country, your husband's in the city, or people are traveling. Maybe you're doing a family vacation. And with all that amazing opportunity comes the potential for us having expectations and then triggers. So we hear you, we see you.
Yeah. Meaning anytime you're out of routine, I know for myself, I always feel a little jilted, So especially if you're doing that with an audience, it's really fun. Your family is there, your husband's there to bring all those challenges to the fore. So here we are making an episode to see if maybe we could give you something to focus on.
Yeah, and also someone had reached out sharing that they loved the podcast and also saying we had done those hard passes about sort of what not to do, and they definitely appreciate the clarity and also would love more of like, so what's the yes to do, like don't tell me what not to eat, tell me what yes to eat. So yeah, I saw a quote that reminded me of a lot of the things that we share here, and I figured that would be a good springboard for us to talk about what we can do when we're struggling and when we feel like maybe the boat's rocking a little bit. So the quote said, you can either control people or connect with people. You can't do both.
You know that, like, yes. It's such a great quote. So great. Because you just can't be in two places at once.
Can't be in two places at once. Also, I think we actually try to control people to connect with them. Meaning, let's say with our spouses, like we're trying to micromanage our relationship or their responses or how we spend our time together or a trip that we're doing as a family or when we're doing it or how we're doing it in the desperation for connection. But we actually end up feeling further away. The project, maybe we end up going away on the trip, or we end up executing whatever it is we were trying to execute, but not feeling connected.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have I reached out for reassurance about something and then was met with a response that was like exactly the opposite of the reassurance I was searching for, because I was trying to manipulate a response, like I was trying to get that response out of him that I wanted so I would feel better. So I'm reaching out for connection technically, but the way that I'm doing it is kind of like a controlling way of reach.
Right. So, because we want to tell people what to do instead.
Yeah.
What are perspectives and I would say energies or actions, words that generate connection?
Yeah. So I think definitely, again, not what not to do, but to check in with yourself. Like, what do I want? What do I actually want right now? I think so many times we're looking at what we don't want, like just to avoid, to protect, to get out of, to survive. And instead to actually say, what is my desire here? What do I want? So if I want to connect with my husband, what would that look like? What would feel good for me right now? I think be a first direction.
Right. I want to add to that is sometimes when we ask ourselves what we want, so let's say the answer is travel with my family. I want to do a summer trip. I think the question, like, instead of stopping there, I think we have to ask ourselves, why do I want that? Meaning, what's the want behind that want? Because I want to travel with my family, so then that's when all the control will come in of like, okay, so I need to make that happen because that is what I want. But then the question is, why do you want that? What's the deeper want behind that?
Right. What will that give you? What will that create for you?
So knowing the answer to that question of, okay, so is it about connection? Meaning, is it that I want to have an experience where our family connects with each other, or we want to make, I want my kids to have positive memories. So that's gonna set me up on a certain path of being very intentional about how I do it. Because if it becomes this activity where I'm bulldozing everybody to get them on this trip, so then what are the memories of the trip? It could end up being a very tense experience.
Right.
Meaning, when I want something, I have to figure out what exactly. So I think a very practical step would be asking yourself, what is it that you actually want? And if you're going to go about this in a controlling way, are you going to achieve your goal?
Yeah. Kind of like, I feel like this would come up a lot, let's say with date night. Like, I want to go on a date night. I want to go out, right? Which is beautiful, right? What is it behind that desire to want to go out is that you want to connect with your husband, I'm imagining. It could also be, right, by the way, if you just ask yourself, it could also be she just wants to get out of the house. And it doesn't have to do with connection, right? And then she's like trying to get him to get her out of the house. It has nothing to do. But if it does end up being, because we're talking about this quote,
Okay,
that it ends up being about connection.
But even also if it doesn't, right, just to go to what you first said, if you discover that it's like, I need a break, or I need to get out, or I need a change of scenery, then you're also free to give that to yourself. It doesn't have to be attached to other people. No one has to be dragged along with you. I don't need to have to validate it by turning it into a date night. Maybe I could, right? Like, maybe I could just go out, give that to myself, and go out on my own, or go out with a friend,
Right.
which would be a lot less frustrating because you've established what exactly the interest is.
Right. Like, let's say I just want some adult conversation, or I just want some spirituality. And then there's like this expectation attached to it of like, if I go out with my husband, then we'll talk about spiritual things, or I don't know. Or if I go out with him, then we'll be able to like talk about just like adult things instead of me just talking to kids all day. Whatever it is. Yeah, it would give more clarity and more direction as to what it is that you desire. And then you would be able to go about it by fulfilling your desire instead of trying to fit everything into something you're not even totally aware to.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So if in the end it is about connection, right? I'm just saying. So it doesn't necessarily have to do with going out. It has to do more with wanting to connect with your husband. So even if the response from your husband would be something like, okay, I think it's so expensive to go out to eat, or I'm too tired to actually leave the house, or we couldn't find a babysitter. But your ultimate desire was just to connect with him. So then options can flow from there.
Yeah, and what space or energy makes a person available for what makes us available for connection is that, just to think about that word, what does it mean to connect with somebody? It's creating space for them. They're going to need. It's also I think it's also a tricky one for us, because we sometimes, when we meet connection, we want maybe just validation, maybe we just want to be heard, maybe we just want to talk and have someone listen to us. Like, what do you mean when you want connection? Do you want to see and meet the other person where they are? Are you ready to create an open space for them? You know, like a woman who will say, but my husband likes talking about the subject and I don't like talking about it. So when we do sit down to connect, he brings up his work, and I'm not interested in that. So then, I don't know, are you interested in connecting with him or not?
Yeah. That brings up like that there's various forms of connection, but at the core of it is making space for the other person. Right? There's like a famous mashal of this king who wants to
Oh, he
eat
keeps saying
bluefin
he loves
tuna, and I love this tuna, I love this tuna, whatever, I love this kind of fish. And someone finally told him, oh, the fish, right? The fish is finally caught and is brought in front of him. And the fish itself says, you don't love bluefin tuna. You love how you feel when you eat bluefin tuna, right? The idea is like, no, you definitely don't love me. Like, love me would not be about eating me. But sometimes in a funny way, we do that, right? Like, we'll swallow the other person just so that we could feel good for, in whatever way that we're searching for. We just want to feel good. So what you're bringing up is a really important point. Connecting is making space for another person.
And I think that space has to be, if we really want to connect deeply, I think that space has to be unconditional. If we want to a deep connection, and I think a connection that we're all really craving, like I really want to feel, in the case of marriage, I really want to feel like my oneness with this other person, to fully create that space is to create a space of unconditional love and respect. Like real safety of this person can be here and I can be here. I want to create that safety for myself also, and permission for myself also. So just thinking, like, I don't know, just thinking about how much of that is present in your relationship. Like, do we even think about that, of a space of real unconditional love and respect?
Yeah, I'm sure that's really hard for some people to swallow. Like, what does that actually look like? I can't stand when he does that. It bothers me when he does that. Everyone will agree to me that when he does that, that's wrong, right? So that's a really hard one to think about / work towards.
And also me, right? Am I worthy? And am I doing enough? Am I pulling my weight? Someone shared with me recently that, she's the harder one in her relationship. So whatever it is, there's like that measuring space and calculating space and assessment space, something we've spoken on here, like, or if we did the relationship version of this quote, you took out the word controlling. Like, you can't connect with somebody when you're evaluating them constantly. You can't connect when you're evaluating your relationship. So what would the freedom, like thinking about even just giving yourself an evening of unconditional love and respect, like what would that experience be like for you? Let me take away the word connection. Let me replace it with unconditional love and respect, and let me see what that would give me.
Right. Like, what would that actually look like? I mean, I would imagine so much would be coming up. Like, does that mean I'm just letting him get away with everything? Does that mean, like, what does that even look like on my face? What does it look like in my actions? How do I see him then? Right. And I think what's interesting is as soon as you let go of all of that, how do I see him then is just him. It's just him in all of his himness, like in his greatness, in his darkness, in his pain, in his joy, whatever it is, you let him exist, which is a gift. Truly a gift.
And you can, and I think, again, do the same thing for yourself side by side. Like, I think that's a very beautiful experience. Like, we can just both be in all of our parts. Yeah. So I'm taking away, I'm not going to respond with judgment. I'm just going to be open. Okay, this is your experience. This is who you are. This is what you want to talk about. And here am I with my experience and who I am and what I want to talk about and what I'm feeling. And again, if we're worried about if it scares you, just do it for a night.
Yeah, I'm sure it's really scary for people. And I'm sure if someone isn't quite there themselves with themselves, right? Like, let's say there's a lot of judgment on oneself or trying to hide all of your imperfections. So it's a big ask to do that for someone else when you haven't even started to do that for yourself. So I think the first step actually would be doing that for yourself.
Yeah, it's funny because I've had this conversation with people. Some people find like you can't do it for someone else till you've done it for yourself. And some people say like it's easier for me to start with somebody else because like it's too overwhelming to go there with myself. But either way, meaning your spouse is a part of you. So if you want to start with the part of you that is your spouse, go for it. Start with him.
Yeah, I find it's easier sometimes for moms to do that with their children and then be able to like tap into that. Like, what do I do when I'm unconditionally loving my child? Not necessarily unconditionally respecting, because I don't know if that's so easy for moms, but like unconditionally loving is, I think, easier for a mother. Like, she's just a lot more forgiving to all the faults and foibles and inconsistencies that are in a child and still love them nonetheless. And to take kind of that ability and generate it towards you or to your husband or to anyone else in your life that you want to have a relationship with, that may be a first step.
Yeah, I think that's a great like we have an experience of it that you could pull from. Like this is what it looks like when I do it for my children. What would it look like you said, to do that for myself or for my spouse? Yeah, I was talking to someone and like we were talking about, being like hearing your inner voice and noticing if it's highly critical. And is that an environment that a person can I thrive when I have this like inner voice that's constantly criticizing? And obviously the answer is no. And she's like, oh yeah, we talk about that a lot when it comes to like, I guess she was maybe a preschool teacher, like when it comes to like early childhood, right? Like how children need sort of like this encouraging, like statements of affirmation and encouragement, and where we want to take this attitude of like, I don't know, like you're a good person, you made a mistake, or you can do this, you're trying hard. Like these statements that I think became very like accepted and encouraged. And I was like, why is there an expiration date on that approach? Why does it end? Like, at which point do we say, okay, now humans are ready to switch from an encouraging environment to a critical environment? Like, we now believe that they will thrive under constant criticism and evaluation. So it was like, oh, when you put it like that, no, it really shouldn't stop at any point.
Right.
Not for ourselves and not with people around us. It's not so much about like losing grip on reality. It's just about we can only connect if there's a safety in the space.
Yeah. I can relate to that. Meaning, there was something that I was being actually with my children, right? There was something that I was criticizing about one of my children. And the moment someone pointed out to me that I shouldn't be doing that and I stopped, our relationship suddenly got so much better. And it was like an immediate response to our relationship. It was so fascinating. And the child actually came over to me and said, I noticed the second you stopped criticizing me about this.
For real?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, knew it at the moment and told me and thanked me for it. It was quite a humbling moment as a parent. So I can very much relate to that.
Well,
I think another element, just bringing in relationships to see if like we could take what we already have and see if we could direct it to to a place where we don't even see how it's possible to do something like that. Another relationship for me where I find this is my relationship with Hashem. Meaning, in my relationship with the Yebishter, like Hashem knows all of me, right? He knows the good, the bad, the ugly. He knows all of it. So there's no point in hiding it, right? Yeah. It's just, so when I'm talking to him and explaining or, davening, asking for guidance and for help, there's like this relationship of like, maybe I don't offer this always to myself by myself, but I kind of expect Hashem to unconditionally love me, even with all of my stuff. So maybe, right, this is a relationship that I could learn from, where I'm seeing how I do accept myself because he's accepting me. And maybe I could channel a little bit of that into my normal everyday life, not just when I'm looking at him. Because I know for a long time I didn't look at him because I couldn't imagine that he could still not love me unconditionally with everything going on, right? But now at this point that I've come to see that, it's still hard for me to accept it and fully believe in it. But the more that the more that I try to access that, the more that maybe I could exemplify that too, like take Hashem's midas of compassion and love and direct it towards myself and to the other people in my life.
Yeah, I think that's very powerful because, like you were saying, typically what we say is like learn to do it for yourself and then you'll be able to do it for other people. But I think what you're saying is actually a lot more powerful, which is experience it. It's being given to you, right? Like Hashem gives that to us. Hashem loves us unconditionally. And like you said, that could be hard. Like it could be hard to swallow, but like sort of allowing myself to lean into it more and more. And also, by the way, I think it, to that quote we said originally, where it's like you can either control or connect. Also in our relationship with Hashem, like if we're too busy trying to control the experience of our lives, or even like we're just in that controlling space, it's also not going to be able to connect with Hashem. Like a lot of just connecting with Hashem is like letting go and being with Hashem, like just be in that space. Let yourself, whatever your version of davening is, but open a siddur and think about the fact that Hashem fully embraces me as I am. Yeah, like someone said to me, if I don't do this, like Hashem's not going to stop loving me. I'm like, no, he's not. Like that's not how this works. Hashem just loves you. That's a constant. So then once I'm receiving that, like we talk about, you need healthy attachment to be able to give love, right? We have an attachment. We have a healthy attachment to Hashem. He's fully healthy, fully showing up. And then, yeah, I can pay that forward. Because I am
so beautiful.
I am safe. The Mishnah, where it says that a love that depends on a specific quality is not going to endure, and a love that is not dependent on a specific quality will endure. If we find ourselves loving, accepting ourselves because of certain things, or there has to be certain criteria in place, that's a non-enduring love. Just to speak to the fear that, if you love someone unconditionally, if you love your spouse unconditionally, then maybe they won't know that they need to develop or change. I want to talk to that fear just because I hear it popping up in the listener's head as we're describing this beautiful unconditional love, which is really beautiful. And I think it's a gift. I really do. I think to give this to ourselves, to give ourselves an opportunity to experience this in our relationship by choice, not because of something specific, just because I'm going to choose to enter this zone and I'm going to give myself, an evening of unconditional love and respect. Will my spouse then not know that they have areas to improve?
So it's interesting. Like I was actually just speaking about this with someone, and we were talking about how she has a tremendously insightful part of her, right? There's a part of her that has insight, that has understanding, and she leans on it, and she lets that intuition guide her, right? And then on the other hand, she also has the humility to open herself up to others and gain many teachers in her life, right? So she has both of these. She has this beautiful intuition, and she also has many educators, teachers, mashbiim in her life who guide her, who help her. And I was saying, that's right, that's your experience, and it's also everyone's experience, right? We all have a beautiful intuition, this guiding light, Hashem guiding us, Neshama guiding us, and you also have so many teachers in your life. And I think there's like an element of like, he has teachers, right? And if he doesn't have a teacher, and if he's too shy to ask someone, there's always ChatGPT. Like there are answers out there. Like he will find the answer, and you don't have to be his teacher.
Right.
And I think that, like, when I realized that was a really big insight for me to know, like, Indy, you don't have to be the one. And you're actually not the one. There are many others out there who have answers. So that was impactful for me.
Yeah, I think like calming ourselves down, like you could also ask yourself the question the other way around, like if someone unconditionally loves me, right? If my husband unconditionally loves me and respects me, and I feel safe and again unconditionally loved by him, will that completely halt all my progress as a human? Will that have me put my feet up and say, I have reached perfection, I do not need to improve at all, there is nothing that I do wrong, I must be perfect, look, my spouse loves me unconditionally?
We're just afraid of like being abused, like we're afraid of like my love, because it's so vulnerable, right, to love someone unconditionally, and you're just scared it's going to get thrown back in your face. Not like abuse, right. I'm saying like it's gonna get
taken advantage of.
I'm gonna get hurt,
right.
Yeah, taken advantage of. So that's where that fear, I think, is coming from. If anything, like when you think about someone who really believes in you and like trusts you unconditionally and thinks that you're an amazing person, you show up so much better to that situation, to that relationship. Not just, and by the way, not to impress them or to make them love you more because you already know that that's there, but because you want to, for you as a person, right? So just taking it around to the husband, like if anything, it's so much better where the husband will hopefully work on things because for him.
Yeah.
Because he wants to, not because someone's pushing him from the back and saying, snap out of it, get to work.
Right, exactly.
Right? So, and that's what every wife really wants, right? Like that's what every person really wants, that you improve for you, not because of me. I don't want to stand over someone with a stick and say move.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like the concept of like silence as permission also comes in to play over here. I know we've spoken about it before, but like there's that fear, and the fear really is coming from a place of control, that my feedback is what's going to make or break this situation. Like there's a lot of weight on my feedback.
Right.
Right? And sometimes your feedback is completely unnecessary. Of course, you can always share your values, share your desires, share what you want. Doesn't have to be in a moment of feedback, and it also doesn't have to be in a way of control.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully this was a nice summer boost for you.
Yeah. I feel empowered to connect authentically.
Amazing.
Have a beautiful, beautiful day.
We would love to hear your feedback, thoughts, and questions.
Please leave a comment below or email us at yourrelationship@gmail.com.
Looking forward to connecting with you.
See you next time.